his keys, his wallet, everything. And when we begged for help, they lied, stalled, and blamed us. So I did the only thing I could. I documented everything and made sure they could never hide again. If you've ever felt powerless, ignored, or pushed around by people who are supposed to help you, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this story, it's frustrating, heartbreaking, but the ending delivers a kind of justice you won't forget. March 19th, 2021. That's the day my life split into before and after. My dad was gone. No warning, no goodbye, just a phone call and a silence that felt louder than anything I'd ever heard. And while the world was already spiraling because of COVID, lockdowns, fear, uncertainty, my world collapsed completely. I remember sitting there staring at my phone, thinking, how is this real? But the nightmare didn't stop there, because that same day, the police told people at the scene they had taken my dad's keys and wallet. Simple, right? You take items, you log them, you return them. That's how it's supposed to work. But that's not what happened. Days passed, then weeks. Nothing. No call. No update. No belongings. My mom finally reached out to the police. No reply. So she called. And that's when things started to feel wrong. The officer checked their system. No record. No log. No reference number. Nothing. Let that sink in. A man dies, police take his belongings, and somehow they don't exist anymore. We spent nearly 2 hours on that first call, repeating ourselves, explaining, begging. Are you sure you took the keys? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Finally, they admitted there was a mention of keys. A mention, not a record, not a logged item, just a vague note. And then they told us, the officer will call you within 24 hours. Spoiler, he didn't. The next day, I called again, hoping for clarity. What I got instead was disbelief. At one point, the officer actually suggested, maybe I was confused. Maybe my dad wasn't dead. I froze. My grip tightened on the phone. My heart started pounding in my ears. Did she just say that? I had to repeat it out loud. My dad is dead. And instead of apologizing, they brushed it off, rushed the call, told us not to contact them again until they reached out. That's when the anger started replacing the grief. Days later, finally a breakthrough. An officer called us. Apologetic. Calm. He remembered everything. 3 driving licenses, bank cards, a set of 16 keys. Finally, someone who knew what they were talking about. We were told to go to the station and collect them. For the first time since my dad died, I felt a tiny bit of relief. Like maybe, just maybe, this nightmare was ending. We drove to the station. Masks on. Anxiety high. My mom, already vulnerable with asthma, risking her health just to get closure. We explained everything. The officer nodded. Went to check. We waited. Minutes stretched into something heavier. He came back and said, they're not here. I felt something inside me just drop. He told us the items were actually in another city, Exeter, a full drive away, during lockdown, with a high-risk parent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. To their credit, one officer stepped up. He said he'd arrange for someone to collect the items and bring them back. We'd have them that same evening. We went home, waited, checked our phones every few minutes. Nothing. Hours passed, still nothing. So we called again, and what they told us next made my stomach turn. The station in Exeter was unmanned. No one there. No way to access the items. Meaning, everything we were promised was a lie. Then came the worst part. Our dad's funeral was in 2 days. We needed those belongings to choose what he'd be buried with, to say goodbye properly. But instead, we were stuck in limbo. Uncertainty. Confusion. Every call gave us different information. Different numbers. Different item counts. 16 keys became 13. 2 bank cards became 3. No one even seemed sure what they had, or where it was. And then, they blamed us. You didn't clearly tell us when the funeral was. That was the moment something snapped inside me. Up until then, I was grieving, exhausted, broken.
But now?
I was done being ignored, done being disrespected, done being made to feel like we were the problem. So I started writing everything down. Every call, every name, every contradiction, every lie, timestamps, durations, details. If they weren't going to take responsibility, I was going to make sure they couldn't escape it. This wasn't revenge in the traditional sense. No yelling, no threats. Something far more powerful. Accountability. I turned our pain into a record. A timeline so precise, so undeniable, that it exposed every failure, every delay, every moment they passed us off to someone else. And then, I shared it.
Publicly.
Where it couldn't be ignored. Where their system errors became real human consequences. Where people could see. This isn't just incompetence. This is what happens when the people meant to help
stop caring.
And here's the thing about truth. When it's documented clearly enough, it becomes impossible to dismiss. Suddenly, there were responses, attention, pressure. The same system that ignored us now had eyes on it. And while it didn't undo the damage, didn't give us those lost moments back, it did something else. It forced acknowledgement. It made them answer. And in that moment, standing there with everything we'd been through, I finally felt something I hadn't felt since my dad passed. Control. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone back. Sometimes it's about making sure the truth is seen. Because silence protects failure. But truth? If this story hit you hard, go ahead and smash that like button. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in this situation? And of course, subscribe for more real, emotional, and unforgettable stories. Because trust me, there's always another story waiting.